The drums had stopped. That was the first sign that something terrible was about to happen in Azimi village. Chief Okoro stood in the center of the village square, his walking stick raised high above his head, ready to strike down on young Adana's back. The girl was on her knees, trembling, her hands tied behind her with thick rope. Blood already dripped from cuts on her arms where the chief's guards had dragged her through the thorny bushes. Her crime? She had picked 3 mangoes from a tree near her family's compound to feed her starving younger brothers. Let this be a lesson to all of you worthless dogs. Chief Okoro's voice boomed across the silent crowd. His eyes, cold as river stones, scanned the faces of the villagers who had gathered. No one dared to move. No one dared to speak. They had learned long ago that speaking against the chief meant punishment or worse, disappearance. The stick began its descent toward Adana's spine. Then, from the edge of the crowd, a voice cut through the air like lightning splitting a tree. Stop. Every head turned. Chief Okoro froze, his stick suspended in midair. His face twisted with rage as he searched for the fool who dared challenge his authority. A young man pushed through the crowd. He was tall, with shoulders broadened by years of farm work, and his eyes burned with something the villagers hadn't seen in a very long time: courage. His name was Chima, and he had been away from Azimi for 7 years, working in the city. You have no right to do this, Chima said, his voice steady despite the dangerous ground he stood on. And you have no right to be chief of this village. Chief Okoro's mouth fell open, then curled into a vicious smile. No right? I am the chief. I decide who has rights in Azimi. Not anymore, Chima replied, reaching into the leather bag slung across his shoulder. 7 years earlier, Azimi had been a different place. Back then, Chief Okoro was just a council member, trusted by the real chief, Chief Emeka, Chima's father. Chief Emeka was a kind man who settled disputes with wisdom, who made sure every family had enough to eat during the dry season, who believed that a leader's power came from the love of his people, not their fear. Chima remembered those days clearly. He was only 15 years old, but he remembered the laughter that filled the village square during festivals, the way neighbors shared their harvest with one another, the way children played freely without worrying about breaking the chief's endless rules. Then came the sickness. It started with a fever that made Chief Emeka shake like a leaf in the wind. The village healer, Maman Karuka, tried every remedy she knew: bitter herbs, hot stones, prayers to the ancestors. Nothing worked. Within 3 weeks, Chief Emeka could no longer stand. Within 5 weeks, he could barely speak. On his final day, Chief Emeka called for his son. Chima rushed to his father's bedside, tears streaming down his face. His father's hand, once strong enough to lift a full water pot, now felt light as dry grass. My son, Chief Emeka whispered, his voice cracking. Listen carefully. Okoro cannot be trusted. He smiles with his mouth, but plots with his heart. When I am gone, he will try to take what is yours. Father, don't talk like this. You will get better. Listen. Chief Emeka gripped Chima's wrist with surprising strength. You are too young to be chief now. The elders will choose someone to lead until you come of age. But Okoro will use tricks. He will. A coughing fit seized the dying chief. When it passed, he reached under his sleeping mat and pulled out a sealed envelope. Keep this safe, he gasped. When the time is right, it will prove the truth. Now go. Leave the village tonight. Okoro's men are already planning. If you stay, you will not see morning. I won't leave you, father. You must. For the village. For our family name. Go to your uncle in the city. Grow strong. Learn. Then return and claim what is yours. Chief Emeka's eyes closed. Promise me. Through his tears, Chima promised. That night, as the village mourned, Chima slipped away into the darkness, the envelope hidden in his clothes. Behind him, he could already hear Okoro's voice rising above the crying, beginning to plant seeds of his plan. By the time the funeral rites were completed 3 days later, Okoro had convinced the council of elders that he should be the new chief. He told them that Chief Emeka had no living heir, that Chima had run away in grief and would never. Chief Okoro's rule turned Azimi into a prison. Within the first month, he created new laws that squeezed the life out of the villagers like hands wringing water from cloth. Every family had to give half their harvest to the chief's storehouse, not the traditional portion for community emergencies, but half of everything they grew. Women had to provide free labor in the chief's fields 3 days a week. Men had to pay a monthly tax in coins that most of them didn't have. Those who couldn't pay lost their land. Those who complained lost much more. Old Papa Dubon, who dared to say the new laws were unfair, was stripped of his compound and forced to live in a leaking hut at the edge of the village. Mama Ego, who refused to work in the chief's fields because she had a newborn baby, was publicly whipped in the square. Her husband tried to defend her and was thrown into the pit, a deep hole behind the chief's compound where prisoners stayed for days without food or water. The village that once sang now whispered. The people who once walked with straight backs now moved with eyes on the ground. Chief Okoro grew fat while children went hungry. He built himself a compound 3 times larger than any other, with walls painted bright white and a metal roof that glinted in the sun like a crown. He took a second wife, then a third, each one chosen from families too afraid to refuse. His guards, armed with machetes and thick sticks, patrolled the village day and night, looking for any excuse to enforce the chief's justice. Years passed. The villagers began to forget what freedom felt like. They told their children stories about Chief Emeka's time as if it were a fairy tale, something beautiful that never really existed. But in the city, Chima had not forgotten. He worked as a laborer during the day and studied at night, learning to read and write properly. His uncle, who had been a court clerk before retiring, taught him about laws and governance, about rights and justice. Chima saved every coin he earned, preparing for the day he would return. And he kept his father's envelope safe, though he had never opened it. His father had said, "When the time is right," and Chima trusted that he would know when that time came. That time came on a Tuesday morning, 7 years after he left. Chima was reading a newspaper at his uncle's house when he saw a small article about Azimi village. A journalist had visited and written about the cruel conditions there, about a chief who ruled like a dictator, about people who lived in fear. The article included Chief Okoro's photograph, older now, heavier, but unmistakably the man who had stolen Chima's birthright. Chima's hands shook as he read. His uncle looked over his shoulder and placed a gentle hand on his back. "It is time," his uncle said quietly. "You are no longer a frightened boy. You are a man. Go home and save your people." That night, Chima finally opened the envelope his father had given him. Inside was a letter written in Chief Emeka's careful handwriting, witnessed and signed by 3 respected elders from neighboring villages. The letter named Chima as the rightful heir and detailed Okoro's schemes and past crimes, theft, lies, even suspicions about the poison that might have caused Chief Emeka's mysterious illness. But there was something else in the envelope. "This document," Chima announced, holding the paper high so everyone could see, "is signed by my father, Chief Emeka, and witnessed by the elders of 3 villages. It names me as his heir and exposes Okoro as a liar and a thief." Chief Okoro's face turned purple with rage. "That paper means nothing. I am chief now. Guards, seize this fool." But the guards hesitated. They had heard the stories about Chief Emeka's missing son. Could this really be him? And what secrets did that paper hold? Chima turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying across the square. "For 7 years, you have suffered under this man's cruelty. He has stolen your food, your land, your dignity. He beat you when you complained and silenced you when you spoke truth. But his reign of terror ends today." "Lies!" Okoro shrieked. "All lies. I was chosen by the elders." "Chosen?" Chima's laugh was bitter. "You threatened the elders. The ones who refused you disappeared. Everyone here knows it, but everyone was too afraid to say it." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Heads began to nod slowly. The truth had always been there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough to speak it. Chima continued, "And there's more. This second document proves that the land your compound stands on belongs to the village, not to you. You've been living on stolen property, while families sleep in huts with holes in the roof. Chief Okoro's eyes darted around desperately. He could see the shift happening in the crowd, could feel his power slipping away like sand through fingers. I gave you order. I gave you structure. Without me, you would all be chaos. You gave us pain. The voice came from the back of the crowd. It was Papa Dubum, the old man who had lost his compound. He stepped forward, his aged body straightened with newfound courage. You took my home because I spoke against you. You whipped my wife, another man shouted. You let my children starve while your storehouse overflowed, cried a woman. More voices joined in. 7 years of suppressed anger erupted like a dam breaking. The crowd surged forward, not with violence, but with the unstoppable force of truth finally spoken aloud. Chief Okoro stumbled backward, his walking stick falling from his trembling hands. His guards stepped away from him, unwilling to defend a losing cause. Chima walked calmly to where Adana still knelt, tied and bleeding. He cut her ropes with a knife from his belt and helped her stand. You are free, he said gently. We are all free now. He turned back to Okoro. You have a choice. Leave Azimi tonight and never return, or face judgment from the real elders, the ones from the neighboring villages who my father trusted. They will decide your punishment for theft, cruelty, and possibly murder. The word murder hung in the air like smoke. Everyone knew what Chima implied. Chief Emeka's illness had come so suddenly, so mysteriously. Okoro's face crumpled. The mighty chief who had terrorized an entire village now looked like what he truly was, a coward and a bully. I will go, he whispered. Then go now, Chima commanded. Take nothing but the clothes on your back. Everything else you claimed was never yours. As the sun began to set, the villagers watched Chief Okoro shuffle out of Azimi, his head down, his power gone. No one stopped him. No one said goodbye. He simply faded into the distance like a bad dream ending. When he was out of sight, Chima turned to the people, his people. I know I have been gone a long time. I know I am not the chief my father was. But if you will have me, I promise to lead with fairness, with kindness, and with love for every person in this village. I promise that no one will go hungry while others feast. I promise that your voices will be heard. And I promise that Azimi will be a place of joy again. Mama Nkaruka, the old healer who had tried to save Chief Emeka, pushed through the crowd. Her eyes were wet with tears. I knew you would return, child of Emeka. I kept the faith. She pulled out a beaded crown from beneath her wrapper, the crown that had belonged to Chima's father. This is yours now. As she placed it on Chima's head, the drums began to beat. Slowly at first, then faster, louder, filling the air with rhythm and hope. The children started to dance. The women began to sing. The men raised their voices in ululation. Azimi was alive again. In the weeks that followed, Chima proved his promises were not just words. He opened the storehouses and distributed the hoarded food. He returned stolen land to its rightful owners. He established a council where every family had a voice. He reduced the taxes to fair levels and used the money to repair the school and the health clinic. Papa Dubum got his compound back. Mama Ego received compensation and a public apology. Young Adana's wounds healed, and Chima personally ensured her family never went hungry again.